So they asked me to do this speech on commitment. I thought immediately of my parents and numerous lectures about commitment that they had given me in my life. I thought about a conversation I had with them a couple of years ago. I was down visiting them in Florida, and we were talking about jobs. And we were going over all the jobs that we'd had, counting them all up. And my parents were in their 60s at the time, nearing the end, and me in my 30s. I had worked and been fired from more jobs than both of them had ever had in their entire life. So let's talk about commitment. My record was 6 hours. I worked 6 hours, not even a full wait shift at Union Street in Manhattan. And oddly enough, the job that I've had the longest is the job I have now, which is rapper. Sort of. I started out 15 years ago when I first started touring with some like vague goal of making this a job. And about 8 years ago, it became a full-time job and it became a career, sort of, you know? And I guess that's what I want to talk about because there is what my father's opinion of commitment is, and that's changed, in particular if you work in the creative field, because I'm a rapper, sort of. And it's a full-time job and a career, sort of. And I feel like I've been committed, sort of. It's complicated. So we're going to go back, because it's not like I've wanted to be a rapper my entire life. It's not something I was doing when I was 2 years old. I had rap sucks written on my binder in middle school. It's spelled sucks, S-U-X. When I was young, I wanted to be Joe Orsulak. Joe Orsulak was like a middling outfielder for the Baltimore Orioles. To be clear, I didn't want to be like Joe Orsulak. I wanted to be Joe Orsulak. I don't really know why. That job was taken though, and so then I wanted to be a pizza maker, and when my mom asked me, it was because I wanted to eat the raw dough. Then I wanted to be a cartographer because I thought maps are cool, and then I realized like the whole world's been mapped already, so like what the hell was the point of that? And then I got into theater and I wanted to be an actor, and then when I was 13, my cool older brother gave me a tape with the rapper Lord Finesse on it, his album Return of the Funky Man on the A side, continuing over to the B side, and then a couple of songs from Guru's Jazzmatazz Volume 1 on the end. And it was the coolest thing I'd ever heard. Nothing like that was being played on the radio at the time. It was the beginning of like the pop R&B era, like the rise of like G-Funk and Snoop Dogg, and like New York underground rap music was like so raw and so violent and vulgar and scary for like suburbanite white boy me. It was the coolest thing, and I thought, that's it. I want to be a rapper. So I practiced in secret for like 2 years. I would like freestyle while I walked my dog. Because like rap music back then was like still outlaw music. It's so different now. It's pop music. You know, we all look at Snoop Dogg and he's like America's like stoner uncle. But back then that dude was on trial for murder. And like we've totally glazed over that whole thing. We've completely removed ourselves from it. And what was like Biggie and Tupac getting shot is now me and Macklemore. And so I practiced in secret for 2 years until I felt like I had my chops up, and then I showed my older brother, my cool older brother, and he was like a hip-hop DJ around University of Florida, and he was so great, and he invited me down to like freestyle at the beginning and the end of his DJ nights, just like rapping for the bouncers and the bartenders and stuff. And then like built up my confidence, and then I showed my friends at school, the kids that I skateboarded with, and then I started to like freestyle with kids at school, and then I started to battle with kids at school, and then I started to go outside of school and battle other dudes, and I was just like, I was so hooked on it. It was the coolest thing. I was good at it. I loved it. I was passionate about it. But see, like the thing that you guys don't understand is you are spoiled here. Minneapolis is like Valhalla for white boy rappers, you know? Jacksonville, Florida is like Valhalla for like Lynyrd Skynyrd cover bands. Like, and it's still that way. Like, you really don't get how good it is. And if you complain about this city, please move to Jacksonville, Florida anytime you want and talk to me about it. So in order to be a part of rap music in Jacksonville, I had to go where rap music was. And there was no 7th Street. There was no Nomad. There was no organized place to do this. You had to go to like graffiti spots and warehouses and back alleys and grimy, dangerous clubs. And if my parents knew where I was going when I was in high school to go freestyle, they would have murdered me. But I loved it. I didn't care where I had to go. I didn't care what I had to do. I didn't care who I battled. I battled everybody, and I beat everybody, and I was having the best time of my life. But the thing that I didn't get is I was a tourist in this culture. For me, like, I'm the most naive, suburban, middle-class white boy. I didn't know I was going to dangerous places. I didn't know what I was getting into. I was a boy playing a game, and these were men. And when they lost, they got pissed. I'm not a fighter. I'm a talker. And they would try to beat me up, and dudes would sick their dudes on me. And then one night I was at this battle at Jackrabbits in Jacksonville, and I beat this dude. I served him in the end. And he was so pissed while I'm sitting there like celebrating with my arms up like a stupid white boy. He's out to his car to go grab a gun. I don't know if he was gonna actually use that gun or if he was just gonna wave in my face to try to scare me. Unfortunately, I had friends with actual street smarts who grabbed me by the shoulders and like, Andy, you need to go. But at that point, I got to like a very important crux in my commitment to rap music, because I loved this, but like, was I willing to die for it? Like, am I willing to commit my life to this thing, this calling that I felt that I had? It might take my life. Hell no! Absolutely not, never, no way! I had options. I had a scholarship to SMU in Dallas for theater. I was not gonna get shot over some rap music. And so I was gone. Theater was my new life. I took rap music and I threw it on the pile with pizza maker and cartographer and Joe Orsolak and actor and all of them, and I moved on. And I got to Dallas and it was full theater everything. And I was gonna be the next Robert Wilson. I was gonna be Peter Brook. I was reading Stoppard and I was reading Beckett and I was learning to break down the secrets inside of Shakespeare's Scansion, and my theater was my new life. I still loved rap music, but I wasn't trying to get shot over it. I would like freestyle every once in a while, like at parties, like when I was drunk to like impress girls, but it was just like a parlor trick. Like theater was my life and I was totally, completely committed to that. Till like sophomore year. And then I met this girl and I had a crush on her, and she knew that I rapped and she thought it was cool, and she saw this flyer for this battle and she was like, yo, you should enter, and I was like, okay. And so I entered this battle. And just like that, I was back in the game. It scared me at first because Dallas was like a real city. Jacksonville's not a big city, and I thought like it was gonna be magnified. I was gonna get blown up by a bazooka or something, and like it was totally different. Everybody battled each other, they went at each other, and then after it was all done, it was all love. And I just served everybody that day and went all the way to the finals. And the guy in the finals that I met in the finals was this dude named Headcrack, and he was like at the time, like the rap king of Dallas. He was like this awesome freestyle rapper, and he would just like make the rounds of every open mic and freestyle session and battle, and just like swoop in, steal the prize money and dip. And after that battle, he like retired, and he was just like, it's yours now. And he was so good to me, and he like shepherded me around the city and showed me to every battle I needed to enter, and that like changed everything. That was huge for me. But even more important that night, it was the dude that came with Crack. He wasn't like anybody in music, he was just Crack's homie, but he and I hit it off. He was this like funny white boy in like a windbreaker suit with like a pencil beard and like hella gold on. His name was Brock Cummings, and like we became fast friends, and he would give me rides to all the battles because I didn't have a car, and we traded music, and then, you know, eventually we became roommates, and we started promoting shows together. And then through that, like I made more contacts, you know, in and around Texas, and contacts with people outside of Texas. And I was slowly like accidentally building a network, and that led to more and more offers. And eventually, just as I was about to graduate from theater, it led to an offer to tour on the Vans Warped Tour. The Vans Warped Tour is like a big national tour, 10,000 to 20,000 people playing every night, and I got offered a 30-minute slot every day, no pay. This wasn't part of the plan. I was supposed to do theater. I had a great resume in theater. I was working as a lighting designer. I was working as a director. I was like all set up to start a real career, and this was not part of the plan. But it started a couple weeks after I was supposed to graduate. Brock was done with his job. He was working as a computer-aided draftsman, and he hated it. And he was like, I need to change my life. And you're about to graduate. Let's just go do it. And if it doesn't work, we have a great summer. You go back to theater. I go figure out what I'm going to do. We had no idea what we were doing. Like, I had 5 songs that I recorded literally on a Radio Shack mic at my buddy Roger's house while he held his dog Unko, because Unko would bark every time I rapped. So he had to hold this big dumb dog and just like pet it so it wouldn't bark over the takes. Not like that was our attempt like engineering a song. And so like I would burn the CDs every day, and I would spray paint the covers with stencils, and we would sell them for $5. It was like hustling rap CDs to punks, you know, and you would stay out in the sun. I'd play my 30 minutes and I would stay out in the sun, and I'd hustle CDs until we had enough money to get gas money to the next city. And we slept in Brock's Honda every night, and we lived off peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and free Monster energy drinks, and it was the best summer in the world. And by the end, it was like almost famous. Like we started out sleeping on the Honda. By the end, I was like riding on Rancid's tour bus, and I was working on music with Tim Armstrong, and I was like, yes, music, man, this is it. This is my new life now. I've made it. And then that tour ended, and then I didn't make it. The next 6 years were grueling. We were still sleeping in the Honda. We lived off of the Wendy's value menu. Every day we would get $3 each to spend at the Wendy's value menu, and I learned how to pimp that menu. And we just played whatever show we could get. And we just booked endless laps around America because we couldn't afford to stop touring and pay rent. Like, I kept my stuff in my parents' basement. Brock kept his stuff at his girlfriend's apartment. And we just kept booking shows in front of us because we couldn't stop. Our longest uninterrupted run was like 18 months. But these weren't like great show after great show. These were like bad show after bad show with 7 days off in Rhode Island. And you like slept at like an abandoned parking lot and watched Three Amigos over and over again on the DVD player. Like, this was the life. This was not the dream. It wasn't anything close to the dream. It sucked. Because I was an artist and I wanted to make my art. I didn't want to perform for like 3 drunks and $4 in Troy, New York. Brock had a BlackBerry, he still has it. It's got a list of what we were paid those first few years, like every show, and it's like $2, $6, $50, $20, a case of beer, $0, some weed, $0, $0, $0. We like slept on people's couches, we lived off the kindness of strangers. But we were committed to it. It was our new life. And so we just played our brains out every single night, no matter how small the crowd was. We tried to be nice, we tried to show up on time, we tried to work our brains out. This was the beginning of social media with like Friendster and MySpace, and this is how we booked our shows. And people would write me, and I would write everybody back at length. If they asked me a question about my inspiration, I'd write 1,000 words about it because this is all I had. No label cared about me. My music was either too weird or not weird enough. I got turned down by literally every booking agent in America. All of them. All of them said no. But this is all we had, and so, you know, this wasn't like some savvy branding strategy. This was just survival. This was like paying rent. This was just trying to get gas in the tank. And we just kept doing that over and over and over again. And eventually doors started to like kind of creak open and promoters would invite us back and bands like asked us to play with them. And it wasn't because we were making anybody money. Like, I sit sometimes and I think about the amount of money that I lost for bars and clubs and promoters over the years is insane. This is bigger than like some country's gross domestic product. It was crazy what I cost people. But they still invited me back because for whatever reason they saw how hard we worked. They saw the hustle. They saw how committed we were. And over time, Brock, my best friend, became my manager. And he still is. And the offers got a little better. And the crowds got a little bigger. But we kept that same ethic. We never turned anything down, and we still really don't. And we kept playing, and we kept grinding, you know, and it was frustrating for me for a while because I was an artist, and I had a dream about what my career would be, and it wasn't it. The labels that I wanted to check for me weren't checking for me. The shows I wanted to play, the bands I wanted to work with, they weren't talking to me. They didn't care about me. And for a while, it was really frustrating. And then one day I realized, like, oh, all these people over here don't give a damn about me, but then there's all these people over here, increasingly every night, who are singing the words to my songs. And so this was my new life now. And I fully committed to that. And by 2009, things had really started to solidify. I finally got a booking agent. I had a real label. And I got an offer to open up for Tegan and Sarah. One show. For those of you who know the Tegan and Sarah's music, and for those of you who know my music, this makes zero sense. Like, so many bands are worried about fit. Does it fit? How is it gonna look? What are the right optics? And me, I'm like, put me in front of a crowd. I will make it work. I have to make it work because it's what I've been doing for years. Tegan and Sarah's fans, like, they're all like 17-year-old girls with angular haircuts, and my fans are drunk. And so I go out there, and the first thing the song starts is 2,000 people. It's the biggest crowd of my life. The show I had played before that, I played for 8 people at an art gallery in Little Rock, Arkansas. And so I see this whole crowd out there, and my show starts, and the drums kick in, and I just like dive out to the security barrier, and I watch the entire crowd go, You have not lived until you've made 2,000 teenage girls with angular haircuts recoil in terror, my friends. That is a box checked. But because I played all those dumb shows, because I opened up for all those dumb bands, because I played barns and backyards and an old Christian lady's living room, which is a thing I actually played, because I played a prom, because I played Randolph-Macon Women's College, because I played the best house party of my life at the University of Virginia, because I played and slept on your couch, all of those things, I was able to quickly adapt. And I started out with everybody recoiling in terror, and the show ended with everybody cheering. And that led to Tegan and Sarah taking me on tour in Europe, and then Tegan and Sarah taking me on tour in Canada, and Tegan and Sarah taking me on tour in Australia, and then it led to more bands paying attention, and booking agents paying attention, and promoters paying attention, all because I played all those dumb shows, and then I played my brains out that day. And then things started to solidify. By 2009, things were really shaping up. 2010, I got enough money to move out of the dumb basement I was living in Seattle, and I moved here, which was the best. And things were good. I had a career. I was paying bills in a dumb, gross apartment over in Northeast with all my buddies, and I was touring Europe all the time. I played this show in Memmingen, Germany, and Memmingen is like a tiny little arts town in Bavaria, and I was playing an opening for this big arts festival. And the crowd was like Bavarian art patrons. Not really my scene. We're looking out in the crowd and everyone, it's like kind of half full and everyone's looking very elderly. Me and my band, we just like take a couple of shots of Jim Beam and we're like, screw it, let's go for it. And we go out there, we play our brains out. And like halfway through the show, this woman creeps up in the front row, this like middle-aged black lady, and she's like dancing her mind out, smiling the whole time, and she's like our spirit animal. We are playing for her while the rest of Bavaria is in the back with their arms crossed. And this is everything. We're focused entirely on her. We end up having the best time at this show as a result of it. And afterwards, she comes up and introduces herself. She's a really nice British lady. And she's an artist that was there for the festival. And I think that's it. And a couple weeks later, she shoots me an email. And she says, hey, I'm working on this project. I wonder if you'd be interested. And without hesitation, I straight back and say, absolutely, what is it? Because we don't turn things down. This is what we do. This is how we live. And then I was like, oh man, I should probably Google this lady. And so I Google her. Her name is Sonia Boyce. And Sonia Boyce is an artist. Sonia Boyce is the first black woman to have her art on display and then purchased and maintained by the Tate Modern. Sonia Boyce has an MBE, which I had to Google that as well. MBE is the Magnificent Order of the British Empire, given to her by the Queen of England. Sonia Boyce is an artist, and that piece that she was commissioned to do was commissioned for the Venice Biennale, which if you don't know what the Venice Biennale is, that's like the Super Bowl of art. I had no business doing any of this stuff, but because we played our brains out at that show, because we didn't care that it was a bunch of cranky Bavarians, because we committed fully to it, I'm the first rapper that's ever freestyled at the Venice Biennale, which is insane. I had no business doing that. It's crazy. All the while, I've been writing everybody back on social media because it's just, I don't know, I'm Southern. It seems like the right thing to do. It's manners, I guess. And then companies started to take notice, and they told me I had a high level of engagement. I had no idea what that meant. STA Travel asked me, like, have you ever done any travel writing? And I said, absolutely. I've never done any travel writing in my life, but now I'm a travel writer. This is my new life now. Harley Davidson asked me if I wanted a motorcycle. I'd never ridden a real motorcycle, but I said, absolutely, I want a motorcycle. I got part of this, like, social media influencer campaign. I didn't know what an influencer was. And all these people had so many more followers than me, and I was, like, so confused what I was doing there. And so, like, one night I got drunk with the people from the Harley Davidson marketing department, and I was like, yo, why me? And they laughed and they were like, you know, you don't have as many followers as they do, but you're really nice, and you write everybody back, and everybody's positive because you're positive, and when you post something, because of that, everybody reads it. And the woman, she said this, and I'll always forget this, and I have the hardest time telling this story without crying a little bit, because it's amazing to me. She goes, because you're a nice guy, here's your free motorcycle. And that blew my mind. That was like affirmation of everything that we had been doing and grinding out. All of a sudden, it all came together in a gold motorcycle. And there I was, and now here I am in the middle of downtown Minneapolis telling you guys about commitment because of all of that, I guess, and because they offered. And if you didn't look at this, it might seem like all this stuff is dumb luck. But there's a through line through it. And it's not a straight line. Commitment is not a straight line. Commitment is not a track. It's not a railroad. You don't put yourself on the track and just plow forward till you have a career. You guys are all creative people. You know this. Nobody works in the mailroom and then gets to the boardroom. That doesn't happen anymore. You work in like 10 mailrooms. And you probably still drive an Uber, you know? And then hopefully one day if you get out of that one mailroom, you better keep working in those other 9 mailrooms because the hustle does not stop. You can pick your art, you can pick your medium, you can pick your style, you can pick your technique, you can pick your content, but you don't get to pick your audience. So as a result, you can't just be committed to what you're doing. You can't be committed to your medium, you can't be committed to your craft. You have to be committed to whatever the hell you offer. Be committed to every opportunity that comes to the door. You gotta be committed to every show that you play, every person that's in that crowd, because you don't know who's watching you, and you don't know what they may have to offer. Thanks. This is ridiculous. It was a real pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.